The Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, speaking about challenges within the Transport Department. Let's take you there.
Find wayward officials and those who aid them and ensure they face the most severe consequences. Our zero tolerance for fraud and corruption will find tangible expression in our interventions, and we are determined to stamp out corruption and criminal elements from our traffic management system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, for the statement. We are going to the Q&A, but also will provide an opportunity for the MEC, the DM, and the CEO to make remarks. I think, Minister, we can go straight to Q&A, and then the MEC can come. Colleagues, can we now take questions? We'll take 2 rounds of questions so that we don't take too many questions at a time, and also we'll provide the opportunity later then as part of the Q&A for the MEC to elaborate on some of the issues. When you speak, you have to introduce yourself and the media house. I've noted one hand, a second hand. Are there any other hands? Let's proceed. You can start with the question.
Thank you. I'm Fikile from ENCA. Minister, just around the corruption, I mean, it looks like it's quite brazen, happening at most of these DLTCs, if not all of them. You're speaking stern words now, but it's an issue that's been there. In order for a lot of people to acquire even their licenses, they have to bribe. It's an issue that some of my colleagues were faced with this morning, so I think more than words, what's more tangible that you can guarantee the public now? And just the online system as well. It's a complete disaster, if I can put it that way. It's failing. People are there days upon days, and they resort to actually bribing these officials. Are there any, ramifications for the workers? Anyone going to be suspended or fired? Or even the employees that do these corrupt acts? What tangible measures are in place?
Thank you for that. The next question.
Nkosi Duma, Minister from Newsroom Africa. Minister, I was just listening to you, and frankly, the statement you just read to us, and the picture you painted is that of a collapsed system. It's absolutely disappointing. It's very bad, the way it is right now. So, and it's been extended until the 31st of March. Will these backlogs be addressed by then, or should we expect another renewal? And also, you say that the online payment system is at an advanced stage. When exactly can we expect it to be implemented?
Thank you for those questions. Minister?
You want to start, Makosi?
Thank you, Minister. The MEC.
Sorry. They want to see you when you speak.
Thank you, Minister, DM and MEC. The first question relates to the issue of the online being a disaster. The online, it is not a disaster, however, there are challenges that are attended to the online on the basis that the slots are released at particular times, and most of the people at the time when the slots are released, they then take all of those slots. But above all, we also take up a slot, but we also have a no-show. The reason why we then have this backlog is that people who have been given the slot, for an example, you are in Pretoria, you are getting a slot in Springs. On the day when you're supposed to be at Springs, you don't show up, and that time has been allocated to you and we cannot take any other person because the walk-ins are not taken. The second matter, the challenges that also begin to amplify the backlog, it's the reasons that sometimes we then have to close the center because of the COVID-related matters. And on that day, we would have given you the date to be at the center. Let me then deal with the issues that we then said the other interventions. You heard the minister in his media speech had indicated that we have now come up with an app that will then ensure that we deal with this in a sustainable way. Over and above the online, you now have the priority list that will go through an email, and subsequently you getting an SMS notification confirming your booking and the date. But that process will also allow you, on the day when you cannot go for your honor your slot, to can then request to be deferred systematically, that you then deal with this bit. But at the operational of the online, the reason when we are now putting on the online, it will also have some punitive issues on you, because you will have then paid the money in terms of the booking, and a no-show will then begin to ensure that you lose the money that you have paid. That's one of the issues that will then make people to begin to attend to the slots, because the issue of the slots, it takes two to tango. Both the applicants are causing the system to be clogged. Indeed, on our side, we had some challenges that we have then begun to deal with, amongst others were the LEUs that were not functional. We have improvised and ensured that we now begin to digitalize them. You will see them down when the minister walks you, the difference between what we used to do and what we have now introduced. That takes completely, even to a larger extent, the human element in that process. When will then the process be launched? I know that the minister and the DM and the MEC will, within a space of about 6 to 7 weeks, launch that process. I'm not disclosing the date, but it has to happen.
Just to add on the slots, I think one of the biggest challenges is the selling of the slots by officials. A lot of motorists say they get frustrated when they get to these centers, because the only way to get ahead is being sold these slots. How do you attack that to the motorists that are there in the queues now, that are being deprived, for example, those that are being deprived of the service because of the corruption and the selling of the slots?
As of the 1st of September, the slots will be centralized at the RTMC. So remember, the slots have been decentralized. The MEC has taken a decision that they be centralized as this issue. So RTMC will now be releasing the slots. It will no longer be the issue that the DLC itself is releasing the slots.
Can I just say, so help us here, because it sounds, the response to the question sounds as if it is saying, well, it is consumers that are not showing up, hence they are clogging up the system. But we have two examples of in Durban, in Verenum, sensors that were piloted, where they are fully booked until the 17th, they're fully booked until December. So in that kind of context, if you want to renew your license in that region, you can't get a date until December. So these are people before they even come.
No, we need to separate the issue between the online and the walk-in. What we are referring to, it's a walk-in. And this is what we're beginning to take in terms of the human element. We are rolling out the online booking as currently it's been rolled out in Gauteng as well as in Eastern Cape. In case that then we haven't, we are at the point that we're going to be rolling this out because of the same problems that we have. The clocking of the system, it's because of the walk-ins. And you'll then find out that they are saying to you that they are fully booked until December, but when you pay a bribe, you have a slot. That's why we're doing away with the walk-ins, because the walk-ins are both in the hands of the driving schools, are both in the hands officers within the DLTCs. So the issue of the online and online picking is taking that human element out, so that the issue happens systematically.
To avoid the dialogue, I think let's allow the principals to answer all the first question. Remember, you also had asked a question in relation to corruption and consequences. Can you allow those? Then we can then also take the questions with you.
Can I speak to the corruption issue, Minister?
Can you give us a chance to answer your questions? And then
I just wanted to ask on that corruption issue, just to maybe get an indication. I mean, it's an issue you're clearly aware of. You mentioned it yourself. Are there people that have been fired? Are there people that have been arrested?
Yes.
Given that you are aware of this issue, what has been done in the past? Now that you know it, what has been done?
Okay. Before I speak to the issue of corruption, and now that it's my first opportunity, let me start by greeting the Minister and the Deputy Minister and the CEO. And Minister, just start by really thanking you very much. We must sincerely thank you for extending the validity period. As you have already said, for us in the province, it's a difficult matter, and this will bring great relief to our province, in particular to the people of our province. So on that score, we are really grateful for your leadership, Minister, for having brought a clarity on this, and we now know in what direction we're moving. Now, with respect to corruption, I think it is also important to understand that some of these issues, we as provinces must deal with some of these matters. Because, as you know, these DLTCs are directly run, managed by provinces, municipalities. So I can report to the Minister, Deputy Minister, that in the case of our province, we have appointed a forensic investigation company, and I shouldn't be mentioning their name as if we are promoting them, but just for enhancing the trust and confidence on the matter, we have appointed Lekwa Consulting. I guess you can check their profile. They are already a month on the job, doing exactly investigations, because Minister did in our forums direct us as MEC to deal with this issue of corruption, as is also contained in the statement. So in our case, Minister, we have already started, and we have given the investigating company some, good period to be able to go deep into this matter, because my information is that before the current administration started, Minister, there was never really a proper process of investigating corruption in the DLTCs. There have been some cases here and there. I know RTMC has dealt with some of them. But this is for the first time in our province that there's a formal process to conduct investigations into corruption allegations. We have said to the investigators that they must act on every case once they have concluded and they've got evidence that can stand the test of scrutiny. They shouldn't wait complete 6 months and release a report. Every time they catch culprits, they should act on that. So to that extent, I'm very much pleased that in our province we have taken the first step in line with the many directives that Minister has given us. And that's where I would like to leave it, Minister, on corruption.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The Minister will also just
First, let me explain that it is not the collapse of the system. I used the word reboot. That was carefully chosen and a very decisive word because the system in itself inherently has got its own challenges. And I wish to restate them because first and foremost, we have challenges of capacity, which put tremendous pressure on the DLTCs in processing renewals of driving licenses. Huge. This is a concurrent function, but over and above that, people have not been working overtime, meaning we are not working 7 days a week. And that is part of the problem. Secondly, the digital aspect we are trying to bring into this has faced tremendous challenges. Corrupt individuals in the system have actually also find their way to manipulate that. So how do we deal with that? First, you've got to increase the capacity. We don't have resources, but we have to increase the capacity to enable the DLTCs to operate 7 days a week to push back the backlogs. What are we doing? We're going to show you here in Gauteng in particular, in increasing the capacity, what are we going to do? So it's not an announcement that is like blowing like hot air. Makosini, the CEO, have explained that in the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal, what are we doing? So this is a global arrangement. In other provinces, we don't have a huge challenge, like Limpopo, for instance, and so on. So we're addressing those things. Corruption of officials entrusted with the system, it's a big challenge. And you say tangible, what are we actually doing with regard to that? We will have to, which is what we are going to be doing, to reboot the system, not to make it easier for these officials to have it easy to flood the system and ensure that people get free flow of access to the system without being prohibited by corrupt elements. And practically that is what is going to happen. There is a slow speed and unavailability of the INATI system causing frustration. That is being attended to. And Makosini, the CEO, have spoken about that. Faulty live capture units resulting in long queues at DLTCs. We are addressing that with the Home Affairs. I've alluded to you that that particular challenge has now been addressed. So you are going to see that. Faulty eye testing equipment. We are in the rebooting system addressing that particular challenge. Delays in validating fingerprints. Capture units are not linked to Home Affairs. That has now been addressed. Why we are extending to March? Because we realize that the problem when you drive around and your driver's license have expired is not your problem. Mainly, is the problem with the system. So that is why we give ourselves till 31st March. Will 31st March, when it comes, having addressed all these things, we will. We will, and every step of the way, as and when we introduce some of these milestones from the 1st of October, we will be able to address some of these particular challenges. We believe that the time frame we have set for ourselves, we should be in a position to have addressed all the backlogs that we are actually facing in the system. And that is why I'm saying that the challenge is not with the motorist. So you can't be arrested and be given a fine or whatever simply because you have been failed by the system. So we are intervening to extend. And then in the process, we clear all the backlog, corruption, all of those things that are involved in the system will be addressed. The capacity of the digital space that we have opened up in terms of booking of slots, that it is not contaminated with corruption, that's what we're going to address. Yes, it sounds like a collapse system because it is a big challenge. The question of the driver's license in South Africa. I attended a meeting where it was said that look, it's only here where you find a problem with people having a problem to renew their driver's license or to acquire driver's license, because the biggest account of this is the corruption, but also the functioning of our DLTCs. We have intervened in that regard and ensure that we increase the capacity. If I can give you an example, if you talk about the accident that happened in the Eastern Cape, which is what we are dealing with, part of the problem why so many people died, 30 of them, is because of the corruption in the vetting centers. All right, that a vehicle would have been tested, or whatever that is the case. But the challenge, when you look deeper into the problem, is that people were able to pay bribes to get a faulty vehicle to be on the road and going to kill almost 30 people, you know, and all of that. So we have to address all of that and there should be consequence management. There are people who have been arrested. I can't give you the figure now. Makosini maybe can speak about that. We have implemented sting operations in the DLTCs, and that will actually continue. But we will not preempt corruption mainly through that, but also the system must be perfect and tight, such that it is incorruptible. And but make it easy for people to acquire and to renew their driver's licenses. It must be a simple matter. It must not be something that is so difficult that it is not something that we cannot resolve. We must resolve that. So the measures we put in place to address these challenges between now and March should be in a position to put us on the trajectory that our driving license regime all round should be in a position to respond differently after March to the challenges that we are currently facing. We have been inundated by people who are frustrated and all of that. You will see what we are intervening and the interventions we are doing here at Eco Park, as well as to reinforce the Gauteng department in terms of waterfall. The situation will be totally different. Will be easy like just getting a vaccination over time. That's where we are getting to. And if by 31st of March I come back here, as and when I introduce some of the interventions we are making, then I would have come to you and say we have failed. So today, what are we doing is to tell you that we are pushing back the renewal, but at the same time, we are rebooting the system. And that is what we are actually doing in terms of the driving license regime. I don't want to talk about other things which are easy to do, like the new driver's license card. That is like pap and flays. It's not victory. It's something that government can do, and we're doing, and cabinet endorse, and we announce you'll have a new driver's license card in the next coming years and months. It is not something to celebrate that I go about and boast that you are now going to have a new thing. No. The basic thing that we need to do, these centers must operate properly. We must be able to do away with corruption tangibly. We must be able to reinforce the provinces in terms of dealing with the backlog. And then people must renew. But the driver's license acquiring must be a simplest thing to do in the Republic. Then we will register victory. And that is what is worth celebrating. So I'm not here to announce. When we announce with the Deputy Minister a new driver's license card and show you, and then inviting people to renew and do, that will be, it's the most simplest thing to do. But the problems are these ones that we need to actually deal with. So we've been dealing with this matter. And Aviwe, you will know that you have been with me in Langlaagte. If not you, but your colleagues. You have been with me in Eguruleni and with me in Tembisa. And today I'm telling you that this is what we have done to Tembisa with the MEC. Unfortunately, this matter is not ministers alone who act. I act with my colleagues. It's a concurrent function. So together we have endorsed these measures in terms of what needs to happen. And the minister at the center and the deputy minister have actually ensured that through the concurrent function of involving DLTCs and all of that, we are able to arrive at this decision. There are a lot of policy things that we still need to rectify. The DLCA in the Department of Transport, we seek to measure with the department, with RTMC and all of that. Those are things that we're doing. Once we have arrived at some decisions on them, we will then come back and announce. We have got to consult Treasury. They may not agree with some of the policy options and the things that as a Minister of Transport, new in the portfolio, I've come across and that I need to deal with. I need to make a business case to them to ensure that we move these things in a particular way. Some of them have been there, you know, they've not been attended to. So we're grabbing the bull by the horn to ensure that the driver's license regime, all in all, is basically rebooted and actually changed. But for now, my concern is the motorist. Not short term, but longer term. What is it that we need to do to actually address the situation? So, besides the fact that we have had to take this decision to the renewal date to August because of the pandemic, but this time around, it's not only the pandemic, it's to address the inherent challenges so that we use this period and issue directions to enable motorists a breather.
The Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, giving motorists a bit of a breather with all the challenges that have been faced by motorists in the different traffic departments, especially in Gauteng. And we'll give you those details later on.